So before we begin, I'd like to say a few prayers, Mangalacharna, praying for the blessings of all the Vaishnavacharyas. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Hare Krishna. We'd like to once again welcome everyone present both physically and virtually for our Sunday Love Feast program. And since tomorrow is the appearance of Sri Hanumanji, Hanuman Jayanti, we'll speak something in glorification of Sri Hanumanji, who is considered the greatest servant, not just the greatest servant of Lord Ramachandra, but the greatest servant because we know the 9 processes of Bhakti, and there are different representations, examples of individuals or personalities who have embodied or epitomized all of these qualities to the highest extent. And for the process of dasyam or servitorship, Sri Hanumanji is that personality that shows the utmost level of what it means to be a servant of Sri Ramachandra. Before we begin, I'd like to humbly beg the blessings of all the assembled Vaishnavas, Srila Prabhupada, Shri Paramakaruna Nitai Gaur Chandra, so that I may be able to speak something for my own purification and for the pleasure of all the assembled devotees here. Sri Hanumanji, he's a very special character in the sense that he is known. I don't think there is anyone across the world who may identify with the religion called Hinduism and doesn't know Hanumanji. Everyone knows Hanumanji, I'm sure. They have to know. If they don't know about him, they've heard his name at least. So Hanumanji is so special that we know there are various sections of the Sri Ramayana, and just like the pastimes of the birth and childhood and the pastime of Vishwamitra is stated in the Balakanda of Ramayana, then there's the Ayodhya Kanda and then the Aranya Kanda. Then after Aranya Kanda comes Sundarakanda. There's a reason why this specific section is called Sundarakanda. One of the reasons is that Sri Hanumanji, his actual name that his mother Anjana would have given him is Sundar. Yes, Mataji is saying Sundar. So the actual name of Sri Hanumanji is Sundar. And why is he called Sundara? Because he's extremely beautiful, not only outside, but also inside. So we may think that, he's a monkey. I mean, how beautiful can a monkey be? But he's extremely beautiful. So much so beautiful, that Sri Valmiki ji names the entire section of Ramayana, the story of Lord Ramachandra, after him. And why does Valmiki ji consider him Sundara or beautiful? Because of his uniting Mother Sita and Lord Ramachandra. This quality made him extremely beautiful. And it is also important to note that also when Vishwamitra had united Mother Sita and Lord Ramachandra by facilitating their marriage, Valmiki ji also uses this word Sundara to describe Vishwamitra. So it is important to note that uniting the Lord with his devotees and keeping that unity, not destroying that unity between the Lord and his devotees and his dear associates, is what makes us beautiful. A very important point. If we are going to create disharmony and disunity within our devotee community, then we are no longer beautiful. It doesn't matter how physically beautiful we are, we're extremely ugly. And we can use the nastiest word to describe such a person. Not only in devotee community, anyone, anywhere. If you're going to create some kind of disharmony and disunity and sort of turn everyone against one another, then that person is not very nice to associate with. We don't want to associate with such persons. So we'll give a short bio of the a short bio. Usually we give bio of the speakers and of various wonderful personalities. So we'll give a short bio of Sri Hanumanji before actually getting into the actual feast for today's presentation. And I say feast because I'm sure it will be a feast. Definitely it will be a feast. So Lord Hanuman was born to Mother Anjana and the monkey king Kesari. He was not the king of the monkeys, but he was a general in the monkey empire, and he also ruled his specific kingdom. And he was subordinate to Vali, of course. Vali was the big guy. So how did his mother and father meet? Actually, that story shows and kind of sets the theme for Lord Hanuman's entire life. Like his mood is perfectly portrayed in the pastime of his mother and his father's meeting. Kesari and Anjana met under very wonderful circumstances. So you all are fascinated about romantic stories and how couples would have met and stuff like that. So here's one such story. Kesari, he was Mother Anjana, she was meditating in a cave. She feels some eyes, when somebody is staring at you, like you can feel it, right? So she feels a disturbance in the force. She feels a disturbance in the force, and she opens her eyes, and she sees this huge, ugly demon in front of her. And his name was Sambasadana. Sambasadana, we're making the story very short. Sambasadana wanted to enjoy her, and he tried to pounce on her, so she leaped back. She was a princess, so she was very powerful also. She jumped back and leaped at him. He wasn't expecting that, and she utilized that opportunity to run away from the cave, and she started running. She ran to a nearby village, and she took shelter of a sage. And the sage says, there is nothing anyone can do to save you from this demon, that only one person can save you, and that person is Kesari. Now, where are you going to find Kesari in this crisis? Who's going to call him now? Did they have any phones? Pull out your phone and drop a call. Hey Siri, call Kesari. Or hey Bixby, call Kesari. It wasn't available back then. So she began meditating on her favorite Lord, Lord Shiva. And while meditating, somehow or the other, Kesari comes there and he starts fighting with Sambasadana, and she's meditating. She doesn't know. No one is getting anywhere. The both of them seemed equally matched. And so she starts meditating on Lord Shiva, and all she hears is this one word, blood. What does this mean in a crisis like that? Who thinks, like, it's such a cryptic message, right? Who is going to decode it in that crisis? So she figures out somewhere there, maybe the demon's blood. She was very smart, right? Maybe the demon's blood can kill him. So she picks up an arrow that's lying nearby with the bow and dips it in the blood, because blood was spewing everywhere. She dips it in the blood of the demon and goes to point it at him. And Kesari, he notices like a flash of like fear in the eye of the demon, and he sees this monkey girl going to shoot, so he grabs the bow from her and shoots and kills the demon. Everybody rejoices, and the sages agree that, these two should get married. And the blessing that they give is that your child will revolutionize the world of devotion. That is the blessing they got on their marriage day, being arranged by these wonderful sages. Then Kesari and Anjana, they wanted, of course, the fruit of this marriage. So, but they couldn't have a child. Nothing they were trying was getting through. So they decided that, for such a wonderful child to be born, some austerity must be performed. So they both went to perform austerities. Anjana was within a cave, and she was remembering also her previous life. In her previous life, she was Managarva. She was a very beautiful baby. Her parents unfortunately left her, so she was there lying, and Brihaspati, the guru of the Devatas, saw her there and adopted her as his own daughter, raised her nicely in his ashram as his own daughter, and stuff like that. So she knew nothing of the outside world. One day she decides, she was 16, and we know teenagers, we want to go and explore, be rebellious. So she steps out of the ashram, she sees a bunch of Gandharvas enjoying with one another in a lake. She never saw something like this before, and it's a strange feeling to her, so she runs back. Her mind is totally disturbed. When she comes back, Brihaspati is fuming, he's extremely angry. So he says, your mind is like flickering like a monkey, so you'll become a monkey. So he curses her to become a monkey. And then she prays, and then he says that your son will become the epitome of devotion. So that blessing is constantly there. That was since her previous birth. So while in the cave, she meditates and she feels a wind like tingling down her spine, and then she decides somebody is playing with her. So she's asking, who is there? Show yourself. You're like a coward hiding. So Vayudev, the Lord of the Wind, appears there. She offers her respects, begs forgiveness for judging him and stuff like that. So Vayudev, he says that I'll give you a gift, but before I give you this gift, you must know two stories behind this gift. The stories are that once Lord Shiva, he was there meditating for thousands of years, and all his followers were there, Nandi and all the Ganas, they're all present there. And Mother Sati, at that time Parvati Mata hadn't appeared as yet. Mother Sati was there, sitting next to him. And suddenly, Lord Shiva, usually in his meditation, no one troubles him, he doesn't say anything. Suddenly he starts chanting Rama, 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 Rama. So everybody's wondering, who is this Rama? They never heard of this name Ram before. So he opens his eyes, and Mother Sati, she questions him, who is this Rama? So he explains that Lord Vishnu will come and the whole pastime and stuff like that. And that he wants to appear to help. So he'll go in the form of a monkey. So why does he choose the form of a monkey? So no one judges a monkey, right? A monkey can do anything. No one will judge a monkey. A monkey is a monkey. So Lord Shiva's train of thought was that if I appear as a monkey, no one can judge me. I can do anything for the Lord's service. So you can see Lord Shiva's mood, right? Willing to take so-called not so high position. He didn't want to be born, a beautiful personality and big strapping, all these nice jewelry and everything. No, he took the form of a monkey. Of course, he was still very beautiful. So Mother Sati, she's angered by this. She says, you're going to serve and you're excluding me? So since you want to become the monkey, I'll become your tail. So Mother Sati, she appears as the tail of Hanumanji. Yes, so she appears as his tail. So that is one story. And also, at the end of that story, he says that, and I will help Lord Ramachandra defeat Ravana. Ravana was already present there. So Mother Sati was wondering, why are you going to kill your own Ravana was a very dear devotee to Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva loved him very much. He said, although he pleased my 10 Rudras, my 10 forms, it displays my 11th Rudra, and that 11th Rudra will appear as Hanuman. So that's one story. Second story is the story of Mohini Avatar and Lord Shiva. I'm sure many of you are aware of this story. We will not go into very much detail. Mohini, we know, is a form of Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu appeared to help the Devatas in the churning of the ocean. And it is said that Mohini, of course, her name, Mohini, very attractive. And you can imagine, when Lord Vishnu is already all attractive, Lord Krishna, he's already all attractive personality of Godhead. You can imagine when he takes on a female form, how beautiful that form will be. So, Lord Shiva, somehow or other, during that pastime, he was preoccupied with drinking the poison and everything, and because Mohini Devi appeared after the poison drinking, so he missed that pastime. So he didn't get to get darshan of Mohini Devi. So he goes to Lord Vishnu and he asks Lord Vishnu for darshan of Mohini Devi. Lord Vishnu says, no, there's a very danger, you're playing with fire. Don't go there. Lord Shiva insists. And just to show us, this is by no means putting down the position of Lord Shiva. He's showing us that even he, who is the husband of Maya Devi, can get attracted by the Lord's illusory energy. How diligent and alert we must be. Right? This is a very, very, very esoteric pastime. And it also depicts Lord Shiva's humility. He goes to any length to show us wonderful lessons that we can learn from. And he gets attracted by by Mohini Devi, and he discharges semen. And it said that semen was so powerful that Mother Earth couldn't bear the purity and the force of this semen. So the 7 rishis, the Sapta rishis, the 7 great sages, they capture that I can't remember the name of the specific leaf. And because they couldn't carry it, they give Vayu to keep. And Vayu keeps that discharge of Lord Shiva. So then he gives that to Anjana. And that is how Hanumanji appears. So it's a very wonderful pastime. So that is the bio of Lord Hanumanji. So Hanumanji, he appears there. And he's a very naughty child. You can imagine monkeys are really very naughty. Then imagine a baby monkey. So he's there, and one day he sees, we know the popular story, he sees the sun and thinks it's a mango, jumps to the sun, tries to swallow the sun. Indra gets vexed at him and throws his Vajra, his thunderbolt, breaks his chin. Hanuman is free falling back to the earth. Vayu gets vexed on everybody and withdraws all the wind in the entire creation. And he goes with his son in a cave. Lord Brahma and everybody is suffocating. All the devatas are suffocating. So they rush to Vayu, because without Vayu, how can we all live, right? So they rush to Vayu, and Vayu says, unless you bless him and bring him back to life, I will not return heir to the entire universe. So all 33 million devatas, there are 33 million devatas in charge of various aspects of creation, of maintenance of the world. And all these 33 million devatas were there, present, giving blessings to Hanuman. So you can imagine the magnitude of this story. 33 million devatas giving unique blessings to Hanumanji. So now imagine, he's already naughty. Now imagine that he gets all of these powers. Imagine how much more naughty he gets. So he starts troubling sages, and one day the sages are like, you're not ready for them thing this is yet. You need to calm down a bit. So to protect him, they curse him that you'll forget all of your powers until somebody reminds you of them. So he forgets his powers. So now we fast forward a lot, full speed ahead. Lord Ramachandra has met Sugriva. They've already killed Vali, and the search for Mother Sita has already been launched. And the party that goes to the southern direction are there at Rameshwaram, wondering what to do with their lives, and they're totally despondent. 2 months they've been searching, all of them totally dejected and frustrated and fed up with life, and they want to commit suicide. At this moment, they decide that as we're going to die anyways, we might as well chant Ramayana. So they ask Hanuman to chant Ramayana for them. So this is one of the specialties of Sundarkand. Within the Sundarkand of the Ramayana is narrated twice. This is the first instance. So Hanumanji, he begins narrating the Ramayana, and through that narration, he mentions Jatayu. When he mentions Jatayu, Sampati, who's up there, looking at the feast of thousands of monkeys down there, oh God, I'm going to feast myself today, right? He says, imagine thousands of monkeys there, he's a vulture. You imagine the feast that he's priming up himself to have. Then he hears them mention Jatayu. So he goes down, how did these people know Jatayu? Jatayu is his brother. So he goes down, and that's how they reach Sampati. And there's a beautiful backstory to Sampati as well. And so Sampati is there, and he helps them to locate. So they didn't know that Mother Sita was on the other side. So because Sampati, his wings were fried due to some mishap, the moment he helped, there's a reason behind this, but won't go into. The moment he helped the Vanaras, his strength returned, flew up in the sky. Because he was such a powerful vulture, he's the son of he related to the sun god. He's related to Garuda. Sorry. So he goes up there, and we know vultures, they have very good eyesight. So he sees still over at Lanka. Within Lanka there's Ashok Vartika. Within Ashok Vartika there's Sita. So he comes down back and he tells the monkeys that Sita is over there. Now there's a problem. Who is going to cross this 800-mile ocean? So all of the monkeys, they begin, speaking about their capabilities. So each one is saying, I can jump 100 miles, this one 150, this one 200 miles. Angad says he can jump over, but he can't come back. He doesn't have the energy to come back. And then Jambavan, he says, I can go, I can find Mother Sita, and I can fight also, but I can't come back. And we know Jambavan is no ordinary creature. When Lord Vaman had appeared, Jambavan, Lord Vamana, his foot was huge, right? You can imagine how huge his foot was to pierce the covering of the universe. So Lord Vamana, while his feet were up there, Jambavan was like, I'm not going to miss this opportunity. He was young then. I'm not going to miss this opportunity. So what does he do? He circles the Lord's feet 21 times in a nanosecond. 21 times in a nanosecond. That was the power of Jambavan. While he was coming back, he happened to kick Monk Mandara, and Monk Mandara got vexed at him, and he cursed him that you're so youthful and you're chanchalam and everything, so of course you become old. So that's how he got his old body, and he wasn't able to do those things ever again. So he's there. Jambavan, he says, I can't do it. Points to Hanuman, who is silently sitting there. You can. And he reminds Hanuman of all his powers. And Hanuman, as he begins to remember all of his powers, he begins increasing in size. And he was huge. His head was almost touching the clouds. So what does this teach us? Jambavan is like an invisible leader. We all have someone behind us that kind of pushes us forward, right? To the world, Hanumanji is the hero of Ramayana. The hero of Ramayana is considered Hanumanji. Although Lord Ramachandra is the one who went and killed Ravana, the hero of Ramayana is Hanumanji. But who is Hanuman's hero? Jambavan. Not many persons know of Jambavan's contribution. He isn't a very prominent, so to speak, as compared to Hanumanji, right? So this shows the humility of Jambavan. And we can often see these days, when, especially in our world today, when someone achieves such great heights due to our inspiration, when somebody comes and Sudarshan comes to the ashram and he becomes some great Maha Bhagavad Vaishnava, and then someone comes and appreciates that person and comes to me and is appreciating Sudarshan, and I'm like, a couple of years ago when he come, me help him do this, I told him how to do this, I taught him this, I taught him this, I taught him this, I taught him that. All about me. You want everyone to know about my contribution instead of appreciating that person. So it's usually this mentality that if I can't do it, no one can do it. To hell with Sita and Ram, let them try there. But Jambavan wasn't like that. Jambavan, he recognized that he was an important link to this huge personality, Hanumanji. Although he might not be glorified, he didn't mind. The more important was the service of the Lord. So it's described that Jambavan, personalities like Jambavan are like salt in the dishes. They're very important, but you don't see them. They're never seen. Anyone ever sees salt? No one sees salt in the dishes. But without the salt, you notice immediately something is missing. Right? So the mood of Jambavan is one of creating an achiever. The mood of leaders should be to create other leaders. Jambavan, he is so heroic, circumambulating the Lord's feet 21 times. He creates an achiever, Hanuman, who jumps over the ocean. Then soon, Jambavan inspires Hanuman. Then Hanuman jumps over the ocean. Then comes the story of Mahabharata. In the story of Mahabharata, Hanuman is also there. Hanuman inspires Bhima. Hanuman, what does he do in Mahabharata war? He doesn't jump and help to fight, although he could. He doesn't do anything. What does he do? He just sits on Arjuna's chariot on the flag, roaring. That's all he does. He doesn't do anything else, although he was capable. So what does he do? He creates an achiever. He creates an achiever in Bhima. So we see this legacy is being created. So it's very important for us to know this point. And there's a wonderful link to the Nectar of Instruction. For us devotees and in our devotee community, Srila Prabhupada says that the purpose of ISKCON is to create an environment for persons to become Krishna conscious, right? It's there in one of the purports of Nectar of Instruction. So what does that statement mean? It's a very strong statement. If we are to create an environment for other persons to realize Krishna, how wonderful should that environment be? What is our responsibility to create such an environment? Something for us to think about. What should we do to create such an environment? A favorable environment, good environment for devotees to grow. So, our Prabhu gives a wonderful link. This same pastime of Jambavan and Hanuman. So Jambavan, he gives the inspiration. Hanuman was open to hear that inspiration. He jumps over the ocean, sets Lanka ablaze. He finds Mother Sita, sets Lanka ablaze. We'll deal with that part later. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he doesn't jump over the ocean, literally. What does he do? He gives the inspiration to Srila Prabhupada, our dear Srila Prabhupada. And our dear Srila Prabhupada, following in the footsteps of Hanumanji, jumps over the ocean, comes to America. And let's pause there. Right? Yeah, the 7 oceans. I thought you meant 7 minutes remaining. I was like, what? So Srila Prabhupada jumps over 7 oceans and he comes to America. So what was the important quality that was there? Srila Prabhupada oftentimes says that he had no good qualities. In his humility, he was saying that he had no good qualities. His only good quality was that he heard nicely from his spiritual master. Even though he said that he couldn't understand certain things that his spiritual master was saying, he still sat there, despite not understanding. He wouldn't understand the language sometimes and stuff like that. Excuse me. But he would still sit there and listen. Because he was open to that inspiration, open to hearing that inspiration, he could jump over that ocean. So let's pause on that parallel analogy and we'll get back to that analogy later on. So there are 64 items of devotional service. And 3 of the most important items of devotional service is that one should take shelter of a spiritual master, take initiation from that spiritual master, and obey the orders of the spiritual master. But we should be open to hearing. Next instruction is to inquire and hear submissively from the spiritual master. But we should be open to hearing. So Hanumanji is showing us very, very nicely this quality. You may not see the direct link to the first 2 items, but there is a link. His guru Suryadev told him to serve Sugriva. in obeying the instructions of his spiritual master, he realized Lord Ramachandra's service. So there are so many hidden lessons that we can learn. So Hanumanji grows in size, and he needs to get he needs to take momentum for his flight. So he goes, and there's a mountain there called Mahindra Mountain. Jumps up on this mountain, and when somebody is ready for a race, on their knees, so Hanumanji is there, and his feet are resting on the mountain. And as he jumps up, the force that he exerts on the mountain smashes the mountain flat. All the birds and the beasts and everybody is running helter-skelter. All the sages in the caves run out of their caves. And it's said that he squashed the mountain so much that all the minerals, the gold and diamonds and everything, gold started leaking out of the mountain because of he compressed it like this and everything just leaked out. Like when you squeeze a pakora and all the oil comes out. Right? Just like that, when he just took off from the Mahindra mountain, the Mahindra mountain was like flattened by his steps. So he jumps and he's flying over the ocean. And as he's going over the ocean, he encounters 3 obstacles. These 3 obstacles, the first obstacle was Mainak. Mainak was a beautiful mountain that's there blocking the entrance to Patal Lok. Why is he blocking the entrance? So the demons don't come up. So that he doesn't move away from the entrance, he expands his form. He expands his form, and he goes up there, tells Hanuman, take a break. And this mountain is a golden mountain full of many comforts and wonderful trees and everything, full of everything for enjoyment. Hanuman says, thank you very much for your hospitality. He doesn't reject the hospitality. He just touches the mountain. Consider this as me honoring your offer, he tells the mountain, and he goes on. We'll get back to the lesson behind this. He goes on. The next obstacle is Surasa. Surasa was the daughter of Daksha. She was sent by the Devatas to test Hanuman. She comes out of the ocean, and she says, I've gotten a boon from Brahma that anyone who goes over here, this ocean has to go within my mouth. So she opens her mouth for Hanuman to go in. He was like, I don't have time for this nonsense. So he starts expanding himself. The more he expands himself, the more bigger Surasa gets. He was like, there's no end to this thing. So he goes in a very tiny form, goes into Surasa's mouth and comes out back. And he says, I've honored your boon, that anything that passes over has to go in your mouth and come out back. So you go into your mouth. So I've gone into your mouth and I've come out back. So Surasa, she is pleased with Hanuman's intelligence and she blesses him. He goes on. The next obstacle he reaches is Singhika. Singhika was the mother of a very popular personality. Anyone can guess who? I'll give hint. He swallows the moon. Rahu. So Singhika, she's the mother of Rahu. Rahu, we see the envy in Rahu, so you can imagine where it came from, right? Singhika is the embodiment of envy. So she had a boon that she could capture the shadow of anyone. So Hanumanji was flying, his shadow was huge, right? Depicted down on the ocean. She captures his shadow and starts pulling him down. Hanumanji doesn't know what's going on. She's there within the ocean. Then suddenly he's within this belly of this great demon. So he just bursts out of the belly of the demon and he continues his journey. So there are 5 lessons that we can learn from this pastime. The first obstacle, there are 5 obstacles. The first obstacle is the obstacle of self-doubt. They were lacking confidence. All the Vanaras, they didn't know what to do, they didn't know how to cross. Second obstacle was the vast ocean. Third obstacle was Mainak. Fourth obstacle was Surasa. And the 5th obstacle was Singhika. These 5 obstacles symbolize something very special within the life of every sadhaka. The first obstacle means lacking confidence. Oftentimes, as sadhakas, we experience this self-doubt, and to get over this problem, this obstacle, we need persons like Jambavan, who are like Shiksha Gurus. And this is the importance of our Shiksha Gurus. It is important that we don't know how to serve Krishna. We need devotees to teach us how to serve. So just like Hanumanji wasn't able to channelize his powers in the right way, and therefore the sages had to curse him, we need persons like Jambavan, our Shiksha gurus, to guide us and channel our endeavors and our talents in the service of the Lord. To empower us. That is the importance of Jambavan and our Shiksha gurus. That's the first obstacle and how to get over it. The second obstacle is the vast ocean. This symbolizes, as sadhakas, we usually feel, there is a distance from where I am at and where I want to go. And oftentimes, it's a very huge distance and it really puts down our morale. So what do we need to do? We need to take a leap of faith. And what the important thing that we need to do, we need to pray. The power of prayer empowers us to take that leap. This ocean also represents Deha Abhiman, or pride of one's own greatness. So all the Vanaras, they were expressing their inability to cross. And it's true that even great personalities have struggled to cross over this ocean of, pride and everything like this. So how does Hanuman get over this? He considers himself Ramachandra's arrow. He isn't the doer. We can't consider ourselves the doer. Instead, consider ourselves the instrument of God. So Hanuman, he considers himself an arrow in Lord Ram's quiver, that arrow that Lord Ram takes on his bow and is shooting him across the ocean. So on his own power, he doesn't have any facility. But by the power of Rama, being the arrow of Rama, on Rama's power, he's able to cross. The third obstacle of Menak, the lure of glitter and comforts. Oftentimes in devotional service, we get so much praise and adoration and worship. And so much, and even then some person might come along, take it light, take it easy, don't go so fast, take a little break, watch a little movie. Let me go to the cinema. Let me drink a coffee. Take a break. Don't take it so seriously. How do we deal with this? We need to keep our eyes on the goal and avoid fringe benefits. Keep our eyes on the goal. At the same time, we can't disrespect, because even then, devotees may come to us and give us comforts. How do we reciprocate? One of the loving exchange is to exchange gifts, right? So devotees may come, so we need to be smart on how to utilize and not get distracted. If that enjoyment is going to take us away from our goal of serving the Lord, then it's useless. It is a distraction on our path. So we need to keep our eyes on the goal always. Obstacle 4. Surasa, she kept growing big, 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 big. Hanuman kept growing big, 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 big. Then Hanuman realized, what? Turns small, goes in, comes out. This symbolizes the competitive mentality. Competitive mentality does not work in spiritual life. In the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada states that we need to get over this competitive mentality to understand Srimad Bhagavatam. If we want a competition-free society, Srimad Bhagavatam is the answer. Competitive mentality is all about us establishing our greatness over others. What does Hanuman teach us? Just let go of the desire of being superior. Let go of the desire of being superior. Embrace the superior desire of serving the Lord. Don't want to be superior, but embrace the superior desire of wanting to serve the Lord. We need to control our pride, stay humble. And as we said, we're the instrument, not the cause. The fifth obstacle is envy. So it's important to note, we can engage lust in Krishna consciousness by having Krishna conscious children. We can engage anger in Krishna consciousness by directing it to persons who are blasphemous to the Lord's devotees and the Lord. We can also engage greed in Krishna consciousness. We can be greedy for Krishna consciousness, for kirtan. We can be greedy for association of the devotees. But the only quality that cannot be engaged in devotional service is envy. How does Hanumanji teach us to deal with this? Destroy it immediately. We have nothing to do with envy. Envy should not exist. Why? Because when we see Surasa, even in a perfect personality like Hanuman, she saw fault was pulling down his shadow. Persons usually want to find fault. Why do we need to find fault? Envy should not exist. Why? Because if we see someone else's greatness, we should recognize that greatness as a spark of the Lord's splendor. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Balam Balavatam Chaham, I am the strength of the strong. So all these great qualities in each one of us are just sparks of the Lord's splendor. Once we appreciate that, there is no place for envy. We can appreciate the Lord even more and start celebrating others' success. To conquer these obstacles, one needs intelligence. And where does that intelligence comes from? That intelligence comes from the association of devotees. Yes. So Hanuman, he reaches over to Lanka. He lands there. As he lands, someone kicks him on his back. He's wondering, who is this person? Turns around, guess who it is? Anyone can guess? Mrityudev, the god of death. Right? He's there. He said, oh, I didn't realize it was you. I'm very sorry. Right? And he expresses to Hanuman that I'm chained here by Rudra mantras, by Ravana. Hanuman touches him, and he's freed. So being grateful to Hanuman, he says that, you know what? That isn't going to trouble you. This is in short. Then he hears someone saying, please help me, in the distance. He realizes it's coming from a cave, goes to the cave. Who's there? Finds a personality hanging in chains, facing the wall, upside down. Who is this personality? Shani. Ravana chained him there and put him to face the wall so that he wouldn't cast his glance on Lanka. Hanuman frees him. And Shani, when he's finished, Shani says, I'm going to stay here. You tell me where you want me to look in Lanka, and I'll look there, and there will be all inauspiciousness there. So Hanuman, he takes blessings and everything, and he waits for sunset, takes an extremely small form, goes to explore Lanka. He reaches the gate of Lanka. There's the gatekeeper of Lanka, called Lankini. Lankini, she was given a boon by Lord Brahma, very special boon. When a Vanara comes there, slaps you, realize that that is the end of your service to Lanka, and you can come back to me because Lankini, she was a gatekeeper at Lord Brahma's door. The intrinsic quality in Brahmaloka is the mode of goodness, and the mode of goodness dictates or needs humility. Right? So she didn't follow that thing. Brahma caused her to come there, and Hanuman slaps her. And she realizes her folly and everything, and she lets him in. He goes in and he begins to search every nook and corner of Lanka. And he finds Vibhishan there. A great personality like Vibhishan chanting the names of Lord Ramachandra within Lanka. There's a great parallel to this. Compare Vibhishan in Lanka to Manthara and Kaikeyi in Ayodhya. So we can be in Lanka, but we can be like Vibhishan. But we can also be in Ayodhya and be polluted like Manthara and Kaikeyi. It's a very important thing to note. What do we need? We need good association to keep us there. So there's a very wonderful pastime that goes on. Hanuman goes around and he's searching all over the place and everything. He doesn't notice the Ashok Vartika until he was totally fed up. He goes through anxiety, panic attack. He starts thinking, goes through depression. He starts thinking, if I fail, Sugriva Lord Ramachandra would give up his body. If Lord Ramachandra gives up his body, then Lakshman would die. If Lakshman dies, then Bharat and Shatrugna would die. If Bharat and Shatrugna dies, then all the four mothers would die. Without the four mothers, the entire Ayodhya would die. And because of this, Sugriva would die. And because Sugriva dies, then Angad would die. Then if Angad dies, then Taru and Ruma would also die, the wives of Sugriva. And when they die, all the residents of Kishkinda would also die. All because I failed. Imagine the level of his overthinking, right? So what does he do? Positive self-thought. Positive self-talk. To see good days, we need to live through the bad ones. So he utters a prayer to Lord Ramachandra. It's important to note, before he leaves, he doesn't pray to Mother Sita, he prays to Lord Ram alone. At this moment, he recognizes that I need to pray to Mother Sita. So he prays to Mother Sita, and he sees the Ashok Vartika. He goes there, hides in a tree, waiting for the right moment to go. Then, Ravana comes there, with his 7,000 women flanking him on both sides, to woo Sita Devi. Mother Sita totally doesn't want anything to do with him. She curses him, throws a blade of grass in front of them. There's a reason why. We'll not get into that. Very wonderful story behind this. Throws a grass between the two of them. Ravana goes away totally dejected. All the Rakshasis, the guards of Mother Sita, begin torturing her with bad words. Mother Sita is totally dejected and everything. She wants to commit suicide. Again, Hanuman, he doesn't know what to do. Mother Sita was once deceived by her eyes. So she knows if he jumps in front of her, she wouldn't believe him. She would think it's, Ravana come there. So what does she do? What does Hanuman do? He realizes, this is the second time that Ramayana is narrated within the Sundarkand. So he begins narrating Ramayana. And by hearing the Ramayana, new life comes in Mother Sita. He appears there before her. Before he meets Mother Sita, Hanuman's wondering, why does billions of monkeys have to go searching for one woman? Why is Rama crying for this one woman? What's the obsession behind this one woman? When he sees Mother Sita, that flips around. He starts crying. And he's wondering, how did Lord Ramachandra live a moment without Mother Sita? So you see the difference? So, Hanumanji, he's usually praised, he's worshipped today because of what he did in that one night. There's so many lessons that we can learn that we sadly don't have time to go into today. When Hanumanji, he reaches Mother Sita, it symbolizes a landmark in his life's journey. At that moment, he's transformed from a Ramaduta to Dasoham Kaushalendrasya. From Ramaduta to Ramdas. From the messenger of Lord Ram to the servant of Lord Ram. From being an associate to a loving servant. How? By the mercy of Mother Sita. That is the mercy of Mother Sita, Srimati Radharani, of Srimati Lakshmi Devi. So, he goes in front of Mother Sita, takes a very small form, and he presents Lord Ramachandra's ring to Mother Sita. And just see the sensitivity, right? He was sensitive to Mother Sita's needs. He tells her, first of all, he takes a very small form. Before that, he was very sensitive that if he jumps there, she might be tempted to commit suicide faster because she might not trust him. So he's thinking all this while, right? He's thinking. Now he tells her that I am the smallest in Lord Ram's army. So he's thinking ahead. If I'm going to do all of these things, defeat Ravana, punish Ravana, if Mother Sita sees this, it will boost her morale. So he's thinking very sensitively. When he gives her the ring, he puts it in his hand and he puts it out like this. He doesn't give it to her like this. Because if he gives like this, that means that he's in a superior position. Instead, he gives like this and allows her to pick it up from his hand. See his sensitivity. Hanumanji represents Guru Tattva. He's a perfect representation of Guru Tattva. Why? This pastime of Mother Sita is showing us a very important lesson. We know Mother Sita wanted that deer. First time in her life she ever wanted something other than Lord Ramachandra. Right? What did that lead to? Material desires led to blasphemy of a devotee. She blasphemed the character of Lakshman. Right? Fault finding, blasphemy of a devotee. After that happens, one loses his intelligence. I'm not saying that Mother Sita lost her intelligence. We're just saying what she's teaching us. Right? One loses his intelligence, can't discriminate between right and wrong, between good association, bad association. Mistakes Ravana for good association. Gets kidnapped. Envision ourselves. This is the story of our lives. Right? We wanted something other than Krishna. This is the story of our lives. We get kidnapped by Maya Devi. Devotees like Jatayu would give up their lives to save us. But it's already too late. We're in the Ashok Vartika of Maya. All these luxuries in the so-called luxuries of the material world are here. We are crying for Lord Ramachandra once we come to Krishna consciousness, and we're crying sincerely for the Lord sends Guru Tattva, Hanuman, to jump over the ocean of obstacles to come and save us. But Guru also recognizes that, we wouldn't be able to recognize him. So he gives us the glories of the Lord, Ram Katha. Gives us Ram Katha first. Then presents himself. Mother Sita tests Hanuman. That symbolizes inquiry from the spiritual master. The spiritual master replies in all humility, a perfect answer for our perfect situation according to time, place, and circumstance. Sensitivity of Hanuman. Then Hanuman gives the ring. What does this ring symbolize? This ring connects us back to Lord Ramachandra. There's a very beautiful story of this ring. We won't get into that story, sadly. This ring was Sita's ring that Rama had kept, that Rama gives back to Mother Sita now, that connects them both. Hanuman gives this ring. What does this symbolize? Initiation. This ring symbolizes Harinam, the name of the Lord. On the ring was written Rama. So what does this teach us? Guru Tattva, Vyasadeva says, Tattva Guru Samam Nasti. There is no Tattva that is greater than Guru Tattva. All the gold in Lanka and the beauty of the Ashok Vartika, the beauty of this material world cannot attract us. But that one ring of Lord Ramachandra can attract our minds beyond compare. All this gold, Suvarna Lanka was golden, right? Could not attract Mother Sita. But this one ring impressed her so much. So that teaches us a very important lesson. Harinam, the name of Lord Ramachandra, is the most important jewel in this entire world. Hanuman tells Mother Sita, jump on my back, I'll take you back. What is the effect of Guru association? Guru was very compassionate towards us. That inspires compassion in us. Mother Sita tells him, no, I can't leave. There are many other captors here. We need to save them also. Compassion for other jivas. We don't want our liberation, but we want liberation for other jivas. We see the depth of this pastime. Of course, we're brushing over in such very small summary. But you can see the depth that the amount of lessons that we can get out of this one pastime. Sita, Mata, and Hanumanji, they have a heart-to-heart talk. And then she gives him a blessing. Ram will always love you. Before this, all Hanuman wanted was Ram's love. After Mother Sita's blessings, he realizes that, now the pressure is off me. Now it's Rama's responsibility to love me. If we have the blessings of Mother Sita, of Srimati Radharani, then it's very easy to attain Krishna. It's very easy to attain Ramachandra. Mother Sita, she sets a deadline. We have a month. You have a month to come and save me. Hanuman, he's like, wait, I took 2 months to get here. Right? So much time to search, to jump over the ocean. How are we going to get all of these persons off, this entire army in a month, defeat Ravana and then save her? It's a very tight deadline that Mother Sita set. So he says, okay. But before he goes, he wants to teach Ravana a lesson. So he destroys the entire Ashok Vartika. Not one tree was left standing. The only tree that was standing was the one under which Mother Sita was there. Here comes the exciting part. The Rakshasis guarding there, they were sleeping. When they woke up, they see everything was in ruins. They thought it was a dream. So what did? They slept again, woke up back to see if it was actually a dream or not. They did this thrice. Right? They couldn't believe themselves, right? This is the most protected part of Lanka. How could this happen? They ran to the courtroom of Ravana. He was having a private meeting. These Rakshasis aren't allowed there. So this was very weird. So Ravana was very angry, but he realized something must have happened. So they told him the entire story. And Ravana, you can imagine what is going through his mind. He sends 80,000 Kinnara men. They're various species of human life, and one of the higher species is Kinnara, called Kinnaras. Short description. So he sends 80,000 Kinnara men there to fight. With a swash of his tail, Hanuman defeats all 80,000 of them. He just moves his tail, and all of them dead. Their weapons gone and everything. They're lying there, dead. Ravana, he realizes we need some stronger person. So he calls one of his chief ministers, Prahasta's son, Jambumali. Jambumali, he was fat, like round, totally round. This comes in great use in later on. He was so lazy that he couldn't wait for the person, his servant, to bring the other cup of wine. So what does he do? He sleeps in a lake of wine. When he's ready, he just has to dip. Right? That was how lazy he was, living in the lake of wine. So Ravana summons him. They have a sobering up potion he gives him to sober up and tells him everything. So Jambumali is like, a monkey, you're sending me to fight. Anyways, he goes with thousands of soldiers. His army is also there. He goes to Hanumanji. Starts blasting Hanuman. Hanuman was like, since you can't defeat me, you might as well chant the name of Lord Ramachandra. This sets off Jambumali, ticks him off. So he expands in size. The highest he could go. By the time he closes his eyes, expands his size. When he opens his eyes, what does he see? 2 huge walls in front of him. Wonders, what the hell is this? When he looks around, he realizes Hanuman's knees. The time he took to get to his huge form, Hanuman was already way huger than him. So he realizes, me alone, I can't do this, right? I can't do this alone. He turns to his army behind him to help him. When he turns around, he sees a mountain there. In the space he took, closed his eyes and expanded his form, Hanuman expanded, got the mountain, squashed his army, and was there standing waiting on him. Jambumali was like, now he's feeling insecure. He says, you can't fight me normal height, so now you want to expand so big. Go back to your normal height. So they both go back to their normal heights, and they start fighting. Hanuman, he picks up Jambumali. You know how you spin a basketball on your finger like this? Hanuman pushes his finger in his navel, spins Jambumali around on his finger, throws him in a corner, all his guts come out of his mouth, and he's lying there in the corner. Jambumali is dead. Right? I should have warned you, this section of the lecture is rated R. Right? So, then Ravana sends, he has 7 main ministers, he sends the sons of those 7 ministers with their armies. They go there. Hanuman, he destroys all of them, jumps up in the air. While he's coming down back, he punched, he struck, he kicked, he boxed, he slapped, he whacked, and he was roaring, destroyed the entire army. Their chariots were in splinters all over the place. Ravana realizes this is no ordinary monkey. So he handpicks 5 of his generals who were never defeated before. 5 most powerful generals. He handpicks them, sends them there. The first one, Hanuman just slaps him aside. He's dead. Right? The other 2, they don't know what to do. So they approach him with his chariot. Hanuman picks up a sala tree, a huge tree that was in the corner, right? And just whacks their chariot to the corner, both of them, with such force that they couldn't even see the remains of those 2 personalities. That was how hard he hit them. Not even their chariots could be found. The other 2 of the 5 generals, they come from either sides and bores and pierces him with a lance on his shoulders. Blood starts gushing out. Hanuman, he gets angry. What does he do? He gives each one of them a slap. They fly in opposite directions. By the time they reach the wall, all the bones in their bodies were turned to dust. Totally broken. So we were wondering, if Superman is powerful, he can't come close to Hanuman. Trust me. Right? Then, Hanuman, it said that This entire Ashok Vartika was such a beautiful place. Now there were all men lying all over the place, severed limbs all over the place. And the only thing that was standing there was a panting Vanara hero. Hanuman, from the time he took off, from before he jumped the ocean, he didn't get any rest. He didn't get to go to the washroom. He didn't get to go to the urinal. He didn't get to take any prasadam. Nothing. He didn't get to sleep. Nothing. Not a break. So now he wanted to relieve himself. And he heard a rustle in the bushes behind him. He saw one soldier was hiding there. So he calls him. This is a perfect messenger to send back to Ravana. The messenger, I'm not going to tell you what he does as yet. The messenger goes to Ravana. Ravana is asking, what is the message? What is the message? Ravana, when he hears this message, he couldn't believe his ears, that someone would go to such extreme lengths to disrespect him. He conquered all the devatas. No one had the audacity to do something like this. What was the message? The message wasn't a verbal message. Hanuman sent the messenger with a very special message. He urinated in the messenger's mouth and sent him to tell Ravana that. Sending a very, very, very clear message. Ravana got the message loud and clear. Hanuman cared a damn about Ravana and his Lanka. So then Ravana realizes this is no ordinary monkey. So he sends one of his sons, Akshay Kumar. In this connection, we have a clip to play for you. Just 1 minute. So Akshay Kumar, before going to this clip, Akshay Kumar, the name Akshay Kumar means the immortal one. Right? What Hanuman does to him is something, I'm sure, so we all watch action movies and these Avengers, these superhero films and all of these things. And you wonder where they got it from. You ever wondered where they got it from? If Ramayana has these things, Ramayana happened way before these superhero films came out and these comic books, right? And we were discussing the reach and the spread, how Ramayana spread across the entire world. And it is also said that nothing that we are seeing today is not okay. Whatever we see today is also stated within Ramayana. And there is nothing excluded from that. Everything in this world is contained in Ramayana. Romance, action, everything. So we have one short clip from a very popular movie, Avengers movie, that you'll see a very similar, strikingly similar scene in the Ramayana here, right now. So let's see that.
You are all of you beneath me.
So this is supposed to be a god, right? Loki. In Norse mythology, it's supposed to be the god of mischief, right? So here's the Hulk. The Hulk comes here. He tells him,
I am a god.
okay, let's just watch the clip. So if you heard it with the song, I guess it would have had more effect. So we saw the clip, so-called God, right, being smashed by Hulk. You saw the illustration. Let's use that as an illustration. Now imagine this. Akshay Kumar, he goes there on his golden chariot, beautiful golden chariot, right? Gem-studded shaft, wonderful, beautiful umbrella, and everything. What does Hanuman do? Hanuman just whacks his chariot. His chariot breaks to pieces. Akshay Kumar is free, falling back to the ground. head first back to the ground. He can't control his fall. Suddenly, something breaks his fall. A huge Vanara catches hold of his feet, whirls him around like this hay and smash him down on the ground. His head was smashed to a pulp. All the bones in his body turned to dust. We see the similarity. So there's nothing that there is today that isn't in Ramayana. Even superhero movies. Hanuman, this proves Hanuman is the original superhero. So after that, Ravana realizes that 250,000 men died in a matter of 2 hours. You can imagine what happened to him, and his favorite garden is destroyed also. So we'll quickly wind up this pastime. So Indrajit, the other son of Ravana, he goes there and he realizes he can't defeat Hanuman, so he shoots the Brahmastra weapon. And Hanuman, being respectful to the weapon of Lord Brahma, the boon from Brahma was that his weapon wouldn't harm him, so the weapon wouldn't do anything to him. Instead, it just wrapped him in a rope. Indrajit's soldiers, they didn't know the nature of Brahmastra weapon. The nature of Brahmastra weapon is as such that if it already binds someone and you go and apply other like binding agents on that person, it decreases the effect of the Brahmastra. Indrajit's army was so excited, they started wrapping more ropes again around Hanuman, defeating the purpose of the Brahmastra. Anyways, Hanuman uses the opportunity, he wants to go and reach Ravana. While he's going, he's smiling. Indrajit is wondering in his mind, this guy is smiling. Are we taking him or is he going on his own? Something is not right. So he's very skeptical. So he takes him to the court of Ravana. There's a great big exchange there. Vibhishan saves him. And Ravana, he decides, rather than to kill him, he'd light his tail on fire. So they bring all the cloth. His tail was so long that they brought all the cloth in the entire palace, and they couldn't wrap his entire tail. The ministers and even Ravana had to take off their cloth to wrap his tail. That was how huge his tail was. They lit his tail on fire. Hanuman is the only personality in Bhagavad Gita, in the Mahabharata, Ramayana, Srimad Bhagavatam, all our Vedic literatures that were the only personality that was lit on fire and used that as an opportunity to serve. We see the depth of his service attitude. His tail was lit on fire. He still used that as an opportunity to serve. What does he do? He burns the entire Lanka. All the gold from Lanka starts melting. So, there's a parallel to Srila Prabhupada, back to the analogy that we highlighted. Srila Prabhupada, following in the footsteps of Hanuman, when he jumped over this great big ocean and came, he ignited the fire of Bhakti within each and every one of our hearts. Up to today, that is burning the bad qualities or anarthas that are there. Hanuman, when he goes back, he's going to Lord Ramachandra. What does he tell Lord Ramachandra? See his sensitivity again. He doesn't say, I found Sita. What he says instead is, found Sita I. Why? Because all the other parties would have gone back and said, I didn't find Mother Sita. So if Ram hears I, he starts thinking, oh, bad news again. If he hears Sita, that wouldn't help because he wouldn't know what happened to Sita. So the most important word was found. So he puts that word first, Mother Sita second, and puts himself last. So he says, found Sita I. Lord Ram, he's so grateful to Hanumanji that he calls him his son and says that you're such a wonderful son. Usually children are indebted to their parents, but you have made your parents indebted to you. And he embraces Hanuman, telling him that this is all I have to offer to you. Hanuman, this embrace was the inspiration for him to dedicate his life to serving Lord Ramachandra and doing anything to please him. You remember the blessing of Mother Sita, that Lord Ram will always love you. So we can remember another example of this. When Gopakumar in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, he arrived in Golok Vrindavan, Lord Krishna welcomed him with open arms in an embrace. And it said that that is how the Lord is waiting for us when we return from this material world, back to the kingdom of the Lord, back home, back to Godhead. So this beautiful pastime of Hanumanji, we've skipped over so much, but if you go in detail, it's a very wonderful pastime, and we see it's so packed with so many lessons. So on tomorrow, the holy day of Hanuman Jayanti, we can pray to Hanumanji to bless us with his wonderful quality of servitorship, so we can all become wonderful servants of our spiritual masters, Srila Prabhupada, and our Lordship Shri Shri Paramakarunitai Gaurachandra, and thereby spread this fire of devotional service all over the world to burn the anarthas, that is and the bad qualities of this age of Kali. So with that, I'm sorry for going over time. I'm 12 minutes over time, but please forgive me if I said anything wrong. And we sadly don't have any time for questions. So everyone can please stand for the beautiful Artik ceremony of our Lordship Shri Shri Paramakarunitai Gaurachandra.